Hi, I'm Dr. Jan McBride, and I'm going to show you how to make a transparent face mask from a soda bottle. This is the one that works the best, and this is from a Sprite Zero bottle, 16.9 ounces. This comes in a 6-pack. You can also use, if you don't drink Sprite that much, Coca-Cola 20 ounce. Now we're going to start with the Sprite bottle. And one thing about this type of mask is when you put it on, it has some tension in it from the natural curve. So it actually stays on without anything holding it. But it could fall off if it got bumped or in a wind. So I put on this one just some very lightweight elastic cord to go around the ears. And this one I made just kind of decorative, just to make it simple and kind of fun. So that's an option, and I'll show you how to do that. But the main method I'm going to show you is the same mask, and this is something like if you're going to do masks for a group, for people you don't know, this is the more simple option. And this just has simple strings that are not elastic. They can be very inexpensive. It can be just a common cord. This is a little dressier string. But this is good for people to adjust to their own face, because it goes around the ear, and then you pull it to where it fits well. And you can just leave these hang, or you can cut this off and make a new knot so it's not too long. You can then wrap it around the top here, pull it behind the ear. So men even can have something that doesn't hang down, doesn't look bad, very simple, and this is totally washable. These are the items we will use for our project. The two masks in the back are the ones that we make from the Sprite Zero bottle, 16.9 ounces. There are two different designs. There's also a mask to make from the Coca-Cola 20 ounce bottle, and I will be demonstrating all of these. The templates in front of the bottles you can get from the GoFundMe website, and these are useful for cutting out the mask from the bottle. Then you will also be using string for the ear loops. There are a couple of options. Glue gun to remove glue. The candle is optional. In front of that we have a clamp with a sewing needle, and we use that for making the hole. And the candle can be used as well if you want to use a hot needle. This does make a smoother hole, but it also leaves a black residue in the plastic. The items on the blue paper are optional if you want to make the beaded mask. And these are from a craft store, and they are used for making beaded necklaces. And the spool is the elastic cord, and I'm using the transparent, and there are other colors available. I have the beads that I chose there. There are numerous options for those. And in the container are the crimping tubes that you use to put this together, and the crimping tool for that. Then we have Scotch tape, Sharpie, large scissors, craft knife, and small scissors that are pointed, and these I use to enlarge the hole for the string, so you'll need something like that. And a ruler, and that's it. Okay, we're going to start with our Sprite bottle, and the first thing we're going to do is remove the label. Now, it's not necessary to remove all this stuff, but you know, it's going to be showing, it's going to be part of the mask, even though we can put it like to one side or the other, but I like to remove it. So we're mainly going to scrape the label off with the knife. And I tried soaking this with water and soap and things like that. It really doesn't make any difference, so I just scrape it. So that's what we're going to do here. And it's also easier to scrape off if you do it with the bottle intact. I've tried doing it after I cut it out, but it's pretty much easier when you have the full bottle to hold on to. Okay, so now it's a little bit sticky there. And I don't really want that, so I'm going to use some Goo Gone just with a little facial pad. Just a little bit. Just use my paper towel to clean it off. Okay. So now we will need to use our template that I got downloaded from the website and cut it out. And these dots are going to show me where about on the bottle this is going to go. So I want to find out where my label was. Oh, it cleaned off pretty well. I could tell it was right here. So I'd like to put this at the edges, so in the back. And there's a line that goes through the bottle and one opposite that. Now usually I like to put these lines on the side, even though we're not looking through this mask, so that we don't have a line right in the middle of it. But boy, this time they put the label right in the middle, so that's kind of odd. Hadn't seen that before. So I'm going to leave this next to that line, and I'm going to use this part. This is going to be one of my edges, and I'm going to use this as my front center, so that means it'll go this way. So this Sprite bottle is nice for this. It has landmarks. So you can see there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little indentations. They're evenly around the bottle. And so I'm putting this, I've got 4 dots here. So I've got the bottom dot is exposed, is outside of the line. So this is exactly where my template is going to go. So I'm going to tape this in a few places. It just moved. Tell me where I'm going here. I'm going right here in the middle, right on that dot. So I'm going to put that there. And I want to try to make sure it's pretty much straight. And you see this is going to curve at the top, so that's the challenge in taking a 2-dimensional template onto a 3-dimensional object. And then when we bring this to the back, you want to line them up so that we're just going to cut a single line that goes through these. So it may be a little bit longer at the top than the bottom. Again, it's a 2-dimensional representation. Okay, so the easiest and best way to do this is to mark it with a Sharpie. Now after you get good at this, you can use a black one. After you get pretty good at it and know what you're doing, you can use something with a smaller tip and a lighter color. Let's see, somehow that's separated. Okay. Sometimes you just have to, it kind of expands and contracts. That's the thing with the bottle. Now, I'm just going to use the black at this time so we can all see what's going on. So we're going to have our line coming between the two here. And you can do that at the end. And then you just, as you go, you want to hold down, and again, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm right in the right spot here. And if as you go something happens and they get kind of out of line and they're not exactly in line, don't worry about it. And these seams I showed you in the bottle, they will show up in different spots in relation to where the label is. I guess you should say the label shows up in different spots. So don't stress out too much about where that is. Okay, now we're going to go across the top. Now the other thing I like to keep in mind is that I want to make sure my line is outside the template, because when I cut this out, I want to cut my line that I drew off so it can be a totally transparent shield. Now that's not critical, but that's the point of having a transparent shield, right? Now I need to take that off. Draw this. You don't necessarily have to fill in all these spaces, but right here I've got a curve, so I do want to fill that in. So as you get better at this, you'll know where's the best spot to put your tape. And I don't really have to finish that line. I'm just going to basically cut through that with my scissors. And there again, I can tell pretty much where that line is going. So this is going to be my face mask. So first of all, before we cut this out, we need to cut off the top and bottom. Now this bottle, because it's smaller, it's not going to be easy to cut with scissors like this. A craft knife can be used, and it's something that can be done fairly easily. Now the other option, especially if you're making these for a group, is something a little more automated. This is a Dremel, and this works pretty well. So the main thing about using this is being careful not to get your hand in front of the blade, where if it slips, it's going to cut you. So ideally, I don't want to cut this way, I want to cut that way. And of course, you want to wear protective eyewear. Okay, toss that. So then we're going to start by cutting through the back. Okay, now these scissors work fairly well for this. However, because of sometimes you just slip with this hard plastic, I like to use smaller scissors that I can guide a little better. And the other thing I found is, see, I want to go inside this line. See, I slipped a little there, so I'd have to trim that off. When you start getting to this curve, it wants to fight you, so then I find if we go the other way, it's easier. Okay, so there it is. Now I can go back, and if there's any snags or sharp edges, I want to trim those. I see a little bit of ink here. Seriously, I don't think you're going to see that. Now, before we continue, I'd like to mention that if you are planning to make more than one of these, it's a good time now, before you finish this, to go ahead and take your next Sprite bottle, take off the label, take off the glue, and use this as your new template. Because look, it fits on there, the dots fit right into each other. You almost don't even have to tape it. You just hold it, draw around it. Now one thing is, if you draw around it in black, you are going to get black on here. So if you can use a yellow or orange or something lighter, that'll work even better. So that's just a little tip that makes it a little bit easier. Okay, so now here's our shield. We still have a little glue here. There, it came off pretty easy, good. Okay, so the next step is shaping, and we're going to start with our edge. If you try putting this on now, you're going to see these edges kind of cut into your face. It doesn't feel very good. So we're going to take the top and make like a little triangle, fold it over. Same with this lower portion. It's curved, so it's not a definite triangle. And then in between the two, we want to just very thin fold. And what that does, it actually makes kind of a curved side for the cheek. This is where we'll attach our string. We'll do the same on the other side. So we have a couple like triangles, and then another one. Okay, and you can test this, put it on while you're doing it. Now then we're going to also have a curve at the top here. This, I'm kind of OCD. This looks a little uneven, so I'm going to even it up a bit. So we're going to see where the nose goes. You can see there's a little shape there. So right in the center, I'm going to put my thumb, and then I'm going to take my other thumb and push this in. So I've got kind of a little triangle there, and then taper it as we go. So this gives a shaping for the nose. I'm going to do the same on this side. So we now have a little bit of an indentation, and this kind of makes a little shelf when you put it on that helps block airflow, so you won't be blowing air up into your eyes, which doesn't really happen with this mask very much, but also protects from droplets and too much air coming in this area. So that's where it's going to fit over your nose. It's really works really well. So now all we have to do is put on our strings. I first need to make the holes to pass the string through. For this, I'm going to use a clamp with a sewing needle, or you could use a needle nose plier, but you're just going to clamp that on to hold the needle. Now where I'm going to place this is the outward fold we made. This is the top triangle, this is the nose. So at the top triangle, I'm going to go just inside of it, right here. And the clamp just helps me hold the needle, but I have to put my fingers on the needle, otherwise if you try to just push it through, it flips off the clamp. So I'm going to just push through, wiggle a little bit. We'll then have to enlarge it. Now the second hole is going to be just on the other side of this triangle, right in this outer fold. You don't want to put it in the side where it may touch your cheek. You want to put it just on the outside, but toward the inner part of that. So I'm going to make another hole, and I'm going to do that on the opposite side. Here's the triangle. I'm going to go just inside it. And then on the other side, just on the other side of it. So those are the holes. And then I'll take my small scissors to enlarge it. Just use one side of it. And you can kind of make a circle. And we're using this string, which is the fancy version. There's also common string that's a little cheaper, but this isn't too expensive at Lowe's or Home Depot. So I need to make it big enough to pass that through. So I'm going to do that. You always want to make your holes from the inside going out, because when you do this, you're going to have, you can feel the plastic out here, and you really don't want to feel that against your face. It does not feel very good. This one a little bit bigger. Try not to get the hole too close to the edge where it may split. Okay, so then we're going to measure the string to 15 inches. So I have here a ruler, so I have here 12, and then I need 3 more. So I'm going to cut it right here. And the same for the second one. So I'm going to start with the top hole, going from the inside out. Now the string is wound, so as you go through, if you don't get all the fibers through, just hold that and kind of twist it to get all the fibers through. We're going to pull this one all the way through, and I'm going to tie a knot here. I'm going to go around the way you do a normal knot, go over it once and then go over a second time, and then we push it. I'm going to hold it onto the edge, and I'm pushing it as I pull the string to get it near the end, and then you want it all in one ball. And I can cut a little bit of this edge off. And then that knot pulls in. So now this time I'm going to have to go through the outside of the hole where the plastic is kind of sticking out. So I get some fibers through and then twist it as it goes in. If it just doesn't want to go in, you might just have to make the hole a little larger. And I'm going to make my second knot the same way. Go around once and twice. Push it to the end. And trim. So we'll do the other side. Okay, so those are our headbands. Now these are our ear loops. These are definitely, I would think, long enough for anyone, and they will need to be shortened. And you'll notice when you put this on, because they're kind of angled up at the top, it's going to pull the mask at an angle against your face, and that's what we want, because we want to angle up this portion, and the bottom portion will be protruding out a bit. And if you need to adjust it, you can with adjusting these folds. But you'll see how that works when we put it on. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to make the mask with the beads, which is basically everything is the same. And in fact, I've got this one, I've got the 2 holes that we made for the string ear loop mask, but we only need the top holes actually, but it doesn't matter if the others are there because you're not going to see them. And you don't have to open the hole quite as much, it can be smaller, but it doesn't hurt to have it the same size. So for this one, I'm using the elastic cord that comes with materials that you use to make beaded necklaces. And I'm going to measure this one at 12 inches. It's very fine and transparent, so you might not be able to totally see this at this point. This one is elastic, it stretches. But you don't want to stretch it when you're measuring it. Okay, so then we're going to pick up a crimping tube, and that's what comes in this little container. Also, this is in the area where you buy materials for beaded necklaces. and I pick it up with my clamp and then adjust it. And I'm going to first pass this elastic through the crimping tube. Now this is where you might want to use some magnification. And then once you get it through, I just hold on to the elastic and the tube at the same time. We're going to use the top hole only in this procedure, and then it's very easy to go through the hole. And now I need to pass this end also through the crimping tube. So there's various ways of doing that, and I find it's very easy to be trying to manipulate this and this end gets pulled back out. So one of the ways I've tried to do it is get it in position where my thumb is holding both ends of the elastic. When I use my crimping tool, there's two places to put the crimping tube. There's a front slot and there's a back slot. The back slot has kind of a little tooth hanging down, and that's the one we're going to use. So I've tried holding it in the back slot now when I go to, and just very lightly, you don't want to crimp it yet, I'm going to hold it there while I put the other end, or this end also, through the tube. Got to have it long enough to have some play in it. This is the very tedious part, and you need a good light. Okay, so now I've got that through. So now I need to pull this further down without pulling this out. So I want to get them untangled. This is the end I don't want to come back out while I pull this end. So I want to get it fairly close. So I'm fairly close there. The end of the elastic is under my thumb. So now I'm just a little bit, I'm right next to the hole. So now I'm going to crimp the tube. So I'm squeeze it and let go. And if you pull on it and it doesn't come out, that means you were successful. And I can trim this end just a little bit so it's not going to touch your face. So that's one side of it. Now the other end is going to be our bead. And we use a crimping tube again, so that goes on first. Pass the end through the crimping tube. Hold on to it while we put it on our bead. I chose these pearly looking ones, and this hole is fairly adequate for that. Now there's another way that might be a little easier, which is holding the crimping tube back in your hemostat or your pliers while you push this end through. Because this one you have to kind of push it because the other side of the string is in there, so there's less space. And then we'll have to switch. And the thing I do is always make sure I'm holding on to this free end, because otherwise it can fall out. So again, we're going to pull the string tighter. And then when we get it where we want it, we put it in our crimper. It's kind of tricky. Can actually get it in our crimper seeing that it's in the right spot. And then pull the string a little bit, and 1, 2, 3, crimp. And we got it. Trim that. So this is one side, and this is the one that when you put on the mask, you just loop this over the top of your ear, and the weight of the bead really holds it well because this is so lightweight. And once, we'll do the other side as well, but once you get this in and get them lined up, you can put it on and try it on and shorten this and make it any length you want. You can even put a loop on the bottom and hang earrings or pendants or anything else you'd like. So this is very flexible, and it could be very decorative and like a interesting thing to wear. Since if you have to wear it, you know what? Have fun with it. Okay, let's try on the masks we made. We'll start with the one with the ear loops. And I shortened one of these just to show you what we can do with that, because these are quite long. But we'll put it on over the ears and then grab the knot to tighten it. And as I said, this does kind of give it a little bit of a slant so that the chin is outward and the nose is inward, and that's what we want. And if this is like too tight on your nose, just push the sides in a bit. I like to push it up just under my glasses. It helps hold my glasses up. So what you can do with this side, when you get the knot shorter, you can either leave it a little bit of leeway. You could probably, once you know this is your own mask, it should be just one to a person. You can tighten this so that you can just pull the mask open to put it on. It's pretty stretchy. But with a little bit of tail here, you can also just wrap it up. So even for men, you get a nice smooth look. Or if you just want to let it hang and you don't really care, that's fine. Put something to dangle on there. So that's this one. And then the one with the beads, it goes on the same way. Put this over the ears, but it doesn't go all the way around. And again, this is also going to tilt the mask a little bit, adjust it at the nose. You might have to make some adjustments around the folds here, maybe even trimming a little bit, bending it a little bit. I mean, trim the bottom if you like. One reason I have the bottom long is because that gets a little more protection, so you're breathing air that's very close to your body. And then you can adjust the length of these strands with the beads, put them higher, have them look like earrings. Just do what you want, have fun with it. And these masks can be cleaned with soap and water, since they're all waterproof, or with alcohol, just wiping it down, or with a bleach solution. So that's the way to decontaminate your mask. And always carry it in your paper bag. The mask made from the Coke bottle has all the same steps and is made pretty much the same way. It just has a different template that is also available on the website. So let's look at that one. This is the template for the Coke bottle that can also be used for the transparent face mask. And when you use this, this is one that I have marked a little bit, so just ignore that. I don't drink Coke, so I don't have another one. But when you use this one, you'll do the same thing as the other process. Take off the label, remove the glue, find out where you want your front piece. And so this has two lines, and there are two ridges in this bottle that go all the way around, and that's what we're going to match up. So when you get ready to line this up, you're just going to line up one end with the top ridge. And the top is the one that looks like maybe some lips. The top ridge and the bottom ridge. Same thing on this other end. Get them so they're lined up. You can tape it together and then just draw around it. And remember, when you get up here, there's going to be a lot of play, so you want to just press this and draw around it as best you can to get this curve. Obviously, it's not going to take up all that. So I have a sample of the Coke bottle. and that's this one. And this again has been marked up a bit, but it has a little more tension in it. And then of course you're just going to finish it off. You don't really have to fold anything here because it has a natural fold and it has a very natural bulge that works well for the nose. It's going to fit a little differently. I'll show you. If this seems too tight and doesn't want to open up enough, you may have to trim this bottom part shorter so it has more flexibility. And if the top is too tight, you'll have to trim back a little bit on these edges here to give it more flexibility. And this is how this one fits. It's going to go over the nose, and instead of a ridge to go over the nose, there's a little dip. So you may have to adjust this to fit, and you want to push it up so it's over the cheekbone. So just think about if you had glasses on, it would be under the glasses. And this is the part that gives you the natural cup, the natural little area to block the air, but it doesn't work quite as well. As you see, you can't really get it totally around the nose to seal as well, although not that the other one seals. And again, you may have to adjust by pushing it upward, opening this a little more at the bottom, and it actually works pretty well. So if you like Coke, then use this. It's kind of a nice one. You just have to get used to how it goes together. So those are our transparent face masks, and they're easy to make. You can make a bunch of them. I hope you will. I hope you'll use it and encourage other people to use it. If they would otherwise go without a mask especially, it's like, even if you're low risk, why take a chance? This is so easy to wear. So let's wear it. Let's keep everyone safe. Thanks for watching my video.